From Software has been renowned for their game's difficulty for many years now, beginning with Demon's Souls in 2009 and continuing with the more financially successful Dark Souls and Elden Ring series. In 2015, however, the studio went in a slightly different tone and direction with the release of a true modern video game masterpiece in Bloodborne. The world they created is familiar and initially grounded in reality, but quickly becomes something original, frightening, and macabre. It is worth the cost of a PlayStation console to play this title alone. It is simply that good. In this video, we will attempt to rank each of the bosses of Bloodborne based on the difficulty that we had with each one in our initial playthrough. We will also not be including the bosses that can be found in the Chalice dungeons at this time, but we may try to tackle them in a future video. Big time spoiler warning. Many of the descriptions and tips given in this video are direct spoilers to the main story of Bloodborne and beyond. You have been warned. Let's get into it. Number 22, the Witches of Hemlock. What can I say for these lovely ladies other than to tell you that they are an absolute piece of cake? They do have a few tricks up their sleeve, like being able to teleport around the arena and summon the slowest moving bodyguards of all time, but this fight mostly boils down to finding the actual witch and beating her to death with whatever you fancy. They each have the ability to grab you and do a significant amount of damage if you stay near them for too long, but if you have any level of observation, you'll be able to see it coming for a mile. Keep moving from corner to corner in the arena while waiting for the witch to reappear, and this fight should be over very, very quickly. I would give the Witches of Hemlock an overall difficulty of 0.5 out of 10. Number 21, the Celestial Emissary. The more the merrier with these guys. If you didn't think that this game was headed in a cosmic direction by this point, you definitely should have noticed it after this fight. These little blue dudes are ripped straight out of the 1950s Men from Mars type films and comics, and can be a little off-putting and creepy at first. But as soon as the player enters the fray and begins to take them down, it should be pretty clear to them that this fight will be an easy one. Even as the real Emissary makes himself known by growing quite a bit larger, the player should have no fear of these little blue pushovers. Using fire paper in this fight will cause it to be over in about 20 seconds, depending on how fast you find the leader, as they melt like butter under the heat. I would give the Celestial Emissary an overall difficulty of 1 out of 10. Number 20, Living Failures. And now for some bosses that truly live up to their names in every way. I was disappointed to find these guys sandwiched between two sets of some of the hardest bosses I have faced in all of From Software's catalog. These guys make up the third boss fight in an amazing DLC add-on called The Old Hunters. When you see where I have the other 4 bosses from it, you might understand what I mean. Simply stick to one of them until it's dead and rotate to the next. Their attacks have really long windups and clear telegraph signals, so they are pretty easy to avoid. The only attack to really worry about is when they raise their hands together and conjure a dark orb that they hurl at you. Simply move to the opposite side of the large pillar in the center of the arena, and it will shield you from the blast. Nothing to it. I would give the Living Failures an overall difficulty of 1.5 out of 10. Number 19, Cleric Beast. It should be no surprise that the first boss of Bloodborne ranks here among the easier ones, but don't let that make you enter this fight unprepared, especially if you are a first-time player of the Soulsborne series. He can still do a lot of damage quickly, and his grab attack can be frequent and annoying depending on RNG, which determines how often a boss will perform a particular action. The tactic for the Cleric Beast is the same as many bosses of the series. Get around behind and don't let up on your attacks. This works especially well in Bloodborne because if you sustain enough damage to one part of the body, most bosses will become stunned and fall, allowing you to perform a devastating visceral attack for some insane damage. Fire paper and beast pellets are also a must-have for most bosses that you will encounter. I would give the Cleric Beast an overall difficulty of 3 out of 10. Number 18, the One Reborn. I think the developers were just going for the shock factor with this seemingly thrown together boss. The boss does have some story relevance and isn't all that terrible to fight overall. It just feels like they ran out of ideas and said, I know, let's just copy the tower demon fight from Demon's Souls, but with a pile of people parts instead. Climb any stairs at the corners of the arena, and clear out all of the magic casters on the balconies. Then return to the boss and try to strike at its head for big damage and a chance to stun him. Just be aware of the nasty bile that he can release all around him, and you shouldn't have all that hard of a time. I would give the One Reborn an overall difficulty of 3 out of 10. Number 17, Mergo's Wet Nurse. As terrifying as the Wet Nurse can be to see for the first time, she doesn't pack that much of a punch. She signals most of her attacks by raising her many arms and holding her many swords high into the air, giving you more than enough time to get around behind her and stay put until she has calmed down. She can and does go into a state where she summons a few clones to attack you out of a shrouded mist, but the best thing to do here is just to keep moving, and most of the attacks are focused on where you were standing when it began. Depending on which end you want, the Wet Nurse may be the game's final boss, which is a bit underwhelming. I would give Mergo's Wet Nurse an overall difficulty of 4 out of 10. Number 16, Micolash, Host of the Nightmare. Every Souls-like game has to have at least one gimmick boss, and this crazed lunatic fits the bill nicely. Ordinarily, I'm not a fan of these types of fights, but the atmosphere both before and during this encounter is something that has stuck with me long after experiencing it. Basically, the idea is to chase him through a maze of interconnecting hallways and eventually realize that you need to double back at a certain point to catch him in a room for which he cannot escape. After that, it boils down to a slightly more difficult fight than a normal mob, but not by that much. He has several lines of dialogue that are unique and compelling throughout the chase, but not much to offer once he's cornered. All in all, a great story boss, but not a hard boss. I would give Micolash an overall difficulty of 4 out of 10. Number 15, Amygdala. After my eyes were opened to the presence of one of these great ones outside Cathedral Ward, I thought to myself, I hope I don't have to fight one of these guys. But I did have to fight one, and his name was Amygdala. Ordinarily, my suggestion would be to get underneath a boss this size. Still, Amygdala has several attacks directed downward, and each of his arms seemingly does damage even if they don't connect with you, so staying in front of him and waiting for good windows is a pretty good approach. If you focus on one leg at a time, like many other large bosses, he will stagger, and you can get a visceral attack in. All things considered, it shouldn't take the average player more than a few tries to get the win here. I would give Amygdala an overall difficulty of 5 out of 10. Number 14, Darkbeast Paarl. The last thing I expected while trying to make my escape from the Hypogean jail was to run into this napping guard dog at the front gate. He is one of the few rare bosses in the game that you can see from a ways off, which only adds to the sense of dread as you approach him. I put him here just above Amygdala because the fights are similar, with the obvious difference being the bolts of electricity coming from Paarl's fur-covered body. Henrik's Hunter set is a great armor for this fight, as it is extremely high in lightning protection. Whack on one of his legs, wait until he's staggered, and punch him in the face. Some builds may even have enough DPS that he will never have a chance to fully stand back up. I would give Darkbeast Paarl an overall difficulty of 5 out of 10. Number 13, Vicar Amelia. Think of Vicar Amelia as a Bell Gargoyles moment in Bloodborne, a skill check that demands you have the core fundamentals of the game down before you can proceed. You may have bumbled your way past the Cleric Beast and gotten a bit lucky against Gascoigne maybe, but you aren't going to beat Vicar Amelia without some skill in the game. She is fairly standard, albeit difficult to fight, until she gets below 25% health, as she will start casting a spell to regenerate that lost health. Throwing a numbing mist on her before or during her time in prayer will stop the healing process and make this fight much, much easier. You are certainly going to want to watch out for her grab attacks from the front, because nothing will kill you faster than that. You may also want to know how to make transform attacks at this point. You may find a need for them again. I would give Vicar Amelia an overall difficulty of 5.5 out of 10. Number 12, Moon Presence. As the true and final boss of Bloodborne, I expected a bit more from this mysterious entity. He comes to you directly after you beat Gehrman, which in my opinion is a more difficult and rewarding encounter. The developers may have known that most players would be short on vials and/or bullets at this point and decided to back off a bit. That's not to say he is easy, because he can put up a good fight, just that he seems that way after the epic duel with the first hunter himself. I would give Moon Presence an overall difficulty of 6 out of 10. Number 11, the Blood-Starved Beast. This is one of those bosses that frustrated me greatly on my first playthrough, but she is also one that hasn't ever killed me on any playthrough since. This is all due to one very important fact about the Blood-Starved Beast. She is really hungry, and she wants blood. Says so right in her name. If you use a pungent blood cocktail and throw it in the corner, she will turn her back to sniff the scent, and you can get in quite a few attacks. Watch for her poison animation in the second phase, and use your antidotes sparingly and wisely. I would give the Blood-Starved Beast an overall difficulty of 6.5 out of 10. Number 10, Rom the Vacuous Spider. It seems that one of the staples of a true From Software boss is a boss fight with a seemingly impossible arena floor. 4 kings, the Nameless King, the Divine Dragon, and here we see Rom the Vacuous Spider. Rom himself does almost no actual fighting in this battle, but that doesn't make it any easier. He summons minion spiders to hold you off while he prepares to cast giant egg sacs down at you from the sky. When you see him roll over to initiate this attack, run quickly in a large circle around him until they are done. Keep making your way to him through the path of least resistance available, and be sure to bring some fire paper along because I hear spiders really hate that stuff. I would give Rom the Vacuous Spider an overall difficulty of 6.5 out of 10. Number 9, Ebrietas, Daughter of the Cosmos. Ebrietas was a tricky boss to rank for me because sometimes she can be very docile and easy to get in close and stagger. Other times she will repeatedly spam her distance and heavy attacks, making this fight seem nearly impossible. That uncertainty has made for a nervous approach on each occasion I have faced her, but my tactic remains the same as with most other big bads. Strafe in one direction and get in behind her as you avoid attacks. Then retaliate until she begins to turn to face you, and repeat. Sometimes you'll just get lucky, and sometimes you will not. I would give Ebrietas an overall difficulty score of 7 out of 10. Number 8, Father Gascoigne. If I were making this list based upon my overall enjoyment of these bosses regardless of their difficulty, Father Gascoigne would have a strong case to be number 1 in my mind. His opening cutscene is incredibly memorable, the story you can uncover through one of his daughters in Yharnam is fascinating and tragic, adding even more depth to an already tremendous boss. He can be incredibly challenging for a first-time player of Bloodborne, but especially hard for anyone unfamiliar with the rest of Miyazaki's games. He starts as a better version of you, dodging and strafing to get better angles on you, and he can also parry your attacks if you get too repetitive. At half health, he will transform into a beast, succumbing to the effects of the old blood. If you can't get past this part, I have one small suggestion. Play a little music to help calm him down. I would give Father Gascoigne an overall difficulty score of 7.5 out of 10. Number 7, Shadow of Yharnam. This boss is a great example of how practice and repetition can lead to great discoveries. Discoveries that make life a lot easier. Say for instance, which one of these 3 hooded Nazgul should I go after first? What types of attacks should I use to kill them faster? Or why, dear God, why is there a giant snake coming out of that dude? Allow me to answer these questions for you. Damage them all equally until they're each at 50% health, then go after the one with only a sword in his hand. After he reaches 40% health, they will each get more aggressive, so kill him quickly. Move on to the guy with the sword and candle, and once he is dead, the Pyromancer will gain the ability to summon a giant snake. Move in quickly on him, and do not let up, keeping him staggered until he is dead. Do all of that, in that order, and you might get the win here. I would give the Shadow of Yharnam an overall difficulty of 8 out of 10. Number 6, Martyr Logarius. A scythe-wielding boss at the end of a secret area, left in ruins and covered in snow. Now, where have I seen this before? Ah yes, the Painted World of Ariamis. Except for the fact that I have opposite feelings about Cainhurst Castle. I hated the mobs of the Painted World of Ariamis and loved Priscilla. This time, I like the setting of the castle, and I hate this stupid crown-wearing Gandalf. He has so many varying attacks, and he seemingly never lets you have a chance to heal. Add on top of that an attack where he puts a sword in the ground that you must focus all your attention on destroying while he continues to wail on. I hate this dude so much that now I go out of my way to head to Cainhurst on each playthrough so I can make him the martyr that he truly wanted to be. I would give Martyr Logarius an overall difficulty of 8.5 out of 10. Number 5, Laurence, the First Vicar. Hey, I remember this guy. This is just the Cleric Beast again. I can beat this guy with my eyes closed by now. Wait, what are you doing? Did you just lose your legs and start crawling around on the floor, leaving me no realistic way to get behind you and no reason to in the first place because your rear end is now gone? Cool. Okay, I see that you are now spewing lava out of the hole where your waist used to be and covering the whole arena in it, leaving me no place even to go to get away from you. Not cool. That's pretty much how it goes with this boss, so good luck to you. I would give Laurence, the first Vicar, an overall difficulty of 9 out of 10. Number 4. Gehrman, the first Hunter. I love this fight a lot. It feels like you are fighting the best version of yourself, and the setting of the flowers and the field under the massive tree in Hunter's Dream only makes it better. He requires patience and learning on the player's part because he will, without question, punish any recklessness and any repetition. He is what you have tried to be this entire game and who you can become if you defeat him. One great thing about this fight is that there are no enemies between the nearest lamp and the boss arena, so dying is not nearly as annoying as it sometimes can be. I would give Gehrman the first Hunter an overall difficulty score of 9 out of 10. Number 3. Lady Maria of the Astral Clocktower. In my opinion, Lady Maria is the hardest of Bloodborne's Hunter-style bosses. She gets more aggressive through the 3 stages of her fight. Yes, you heard that correctly. There are 3 stages to be mastered here, and her attacks become more powerful in each and every stage. She dual wields the Rakuyo and the Evelyn, which only get stronger in each phase. First, by adding blood attacks to her weapons and fire. In phase 3, you can get hit by her blade, the blood trail, and the following fire explosion all in the same swing. Needless to say, learning this fight can be quite hard and still takes a lot of concentration once you have figured it out. Do not let defeat frustrate you here. It will only make the victory that much sweeter. I would give Lady Maria an overall difficulty score of 9.5 out of 10. Number 2. Ludwig the Accursed. Absolute nightmare fuel. I have played many games and seen a lot of messed up stuff, but this horse spider man and his barnacle suction cup of death shoulder blade made their way up to the all-time list pretty fast. From his shrieks of pain when striking him to the awe-inspiring moment that sees him remember who he used to be, every moment of this fight is glorious and awesome to behold. Technically, all of the bosses of Bloodborne have at least 2 unique phases to their fights, but none is more obvious or made better use of than in this epic battle. Ludwig begins as a raging monster of pure chaos, darting around the corpse-filled arena and punishing you for losing track of him. Then, at half health, he retrieves his Sword of Moonlight and becomes a seasoned warrior again, striking with precision and forcing you to play perfectly to achieve victory. For me, what started in pure disgust ended up in deep sympathy for the fate of Ludwig, which is mostly the opposite of all the other bosses on this list. I would give Ludwig the Accursed an overall difficulty score of 10 out of 10. Number 1. The Orphan of Kos. I have played the entirety of From Software's collection of Soulsborne games, from Demon Souls in 2009 all the way up to their newest release in Elden Ring Night Rain, and I have to say that this boss is legitimately one of the top 3 hardest boss fights from any of them. This fetus man and his placenta bat will have you scrambling all over the place trying to regain your position and stay in front of him because he is lightning fast, which is just during his first phase. He can be interrupted with a perfectly timed pistol shot, but missing one of these is an instant regretted decision. His second phase makes the first one seem calm by comparison, and you must remain completely zoned into his movement to dodge and weave his seemingly never-ending wave of attacks. There is no shame in being overleveled for this fight, and even then, I wish you all the best in beating the last boss that Bloodborne has to offer. I would give the Orphan of Kos an overall difficulty of 11 out of 10. Well, that's our list of all the bosses of Bloodborne ranked by their difficulty. Do you agree with our list, or would yours look slightly different? Sound off in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.